Welcome to today's deep dive.
Yeah.
We're going to be cracking open like a really ancient text,
Mhm.
Deuteronomy chapter 7 through 9.
Okay.
And we're going to unearth some, I think, surprisingly relevant insights on conquest, obedience,
Right.
and the relationship between a people and their God.
Right.
Now I know what you might be thinking.
What's that?
Conquest.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that a bit intense?
Yeah, you could say that. It's not exactly light reading.
Yeah.
It's not. But what makes these chapters so fascinating
Yeah.
is that they offer this like really rare glimpse into the mindset of a conquering nation.
Yeah.
Wrestling with their identity, their anxieties,
Yeah.
and their understanding of divine favor.
Yeah. It's like we're getting this like privileged peek behind the curtain of history.
Exactly.
Right. We're not like condoning the violence or the attitudes,
Right.
but we're
trying to understand them
yeah.
in context.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
to do that,
Okay.
we need to start by transporting ourselves back
Yeah.
to the context of the ancient Near East.
Okay.
Imagine a world
Right.
where holy war
Yeah.
wasn't just like a concept,
Okay.
but like a lived reality.
Okay, let's talk about holy war for a moment.
Sure. Yeah.
It's a term that immediately raises eyebrows today.
Right.
But what did it actually mean for the Israelites?
For them, victory in battle wasn't just about like territorial gain
Right.
or political dominance.
Okay.
It was about something like much deeper. The assertion of their God's supremacy
Okay.
over the gods of their enemies.
Okay.
The command to utterly destroy,
Yes.
which we find right away
Yeah.
in Deuteronomy 7.2,
Yeah.
needs to be understood, I think, within this framework.
So it wasn't necessarily about
Right.
wiping out every man, woman, and child,
Now,
as some might assume.
archaeological and textual evidence
Yeah.
suggests that utterly destroy
Okay.
was likely more about
Yeah.
dismantling the enemy's ability to wage war
Okay.
and practice their religion.
Okay.
It was about the destruction of their religious and military structures.
So
Kind of an ancient regime change aimed at like completely replacing their cultural and religious systems.
okay. So that brings us to another fascinating aspect of these chapters.
Yeah.
The Israelites' really deep fear
Yeah.
of cultural assimilation
Right.
and religious syncretism.
Yeah.
Deuteronomy 7.3-4, it repeatedly warns against intermarrying with the seven nations already inhabiting the promised land or adopting their religious practices.
Right.
Why such a strong emphasis?
Well, you have to remember,
Yeah.
the Israelites saw themselves as a people chosen by a jealous God,
Right.
a God who demanded their exclusive devotion.
Okay.
Intermarriage and religious mixing, it wasn't just like a social faux pas.
Right.
They were seen as direct threats to their covenant with God, to their very identity as his chosen people.
You know, it's interesting
Yeah.
how that fear of losing one's identity
Right.
still resonates today,
Absolutely.
even if the context is completely different.
It does.
Right.
Yeah.
Think about anxieties around globalization,
Right.
cultural homogenization,
Yeah.
even like immigration debates.
Absolutely.
It's that same like underlying tension
It is.
between holding on to what's unique
Yeah.
and navigating a world of different beliefs and practices.
Absolutely. And this fear, I think, it underscores just how vital the concept of chosenness was to the Israelites.
Okay.
This wasn't about them being inherently more righteous or deserving.
Right.
It was about God's promise to Abraham, a promise rooted in love and faithfulness.
That idea is repeated
Yeah.
throughout these chapters, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
like God keeps reminding them that their chosenness,
Yeah,
it's not about them, it's about him.
precisely.
Right.
Deuteronomy 7.7
Mm-hmm.
even says, "The Lord did not set his love upon you,
Yeah.
nor choose you,
Yeah.
because you were more in number than any people, for you were the fewest of all people."
Right.
And again in 9.5, "Not for thy righteousness, or for the uprightness of thine heart, dost thou go to possess their land, but for the wickedness of these nations."
There's a real paradox there, isn't
It's-
it? Chosen not because of inherent goodness,
Yeah.
but because of a promise made.
Right.
Despite human flaws,
Right.
it challenges our like modern sensibility
It does.
around merit and reward.
Indeed, it does.
Right.
It compels us to consider the nature of divine favor, of grace,
Right.
is being chosen about inherent worthiness? Or is it about God's unwavering commitment to a promise,
Yeah.
regardless of our imperfections?
That's a profound question.
It is.
And it leads us to, I think, another crucial aspect
Right.
of this covenant.
Yeah.
It wasn't just about divine blessings.
Right.
It also came with responsibilities.
Exactly. Deuteronomy 7.12-16
Okay.
describes the blessings that await the Israelites if they uphold their end of the covenant:
Okay.
abundance, health, victory. But these blessings weren't unconditional.
Okay.
There's a sense of this is what awaits you
Right.
if you remain faithful.
It's almost like a divine contract.
Yeah.
But instead of legal jargon,
Yeah.
we have like the fate of nations
Right.
hanging in the balance.
And that sense of consequence, of a binding agreement with both blessings and curses,
Right.
is central to, I think, understanding the covenant.
Right.
Obedience brought favor.
Right.
Disobedience brought consequences.
Right.
This theme reverberates throughout the entire Old Testament.
It's fascinating how this ancient concept of a covenant, of living in alignment with a set of beliefs and values still resonates today.
It does. Absolutely. It speaks to a fundamental human need for order, for understanding our place in a larger moral framework.
Right.
Even if we don't frame it
Yeah.
in terms of a divine contract,
Mm-hmm.
the principle remains the same.
Yeah.
Our choices
Yeah.
have consequences.
Right.
Living in accordance with our values, whatever those may be,
Yeah.
often leads to a more fulfilling and, dare I say, blessed life.
Right. It makes you wonder, though. You'd think a text so focused on conquest, like taking possession of land,
Yeah.
would be filled with with like triumphant tales of victory.
Yeah.
But Deuteronomy chapters 8 and 9, they take a kind of a surprising turn.
You do.
Right.
That's because the real challenge
Yeah.
wasn't just winning the battles.
Right.
It was winning the peace, so to speak. These chapters, they reveal this really deep-seated anxiety
Yeah.
about the corrupting nature of power.
Right. Ease with which comfort and success can lead to arrogance. Yeah. And spiritual amnesia.
Yeah. It's that age-old warning, isn't it?
It is.
Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts. Absolutely.
Precisely. And Deuteronomy 8.1120
Right.
is a sobering reminder of that very human tendency.
Yeah.
It warns against forgetting God in times of plenty, of attributing their prosperity solely to their own strength and ingenuity.
Which is incredibly relatable when you think about it.
Totally.
When things are going well,
Right.
it's easy to slip into that mindset of, I did this, I earned this.
Right.
But the minute things get tough,
Yeah.
we're often very quick to look for help.
Absolutely. To call upon a higher power.
It's a timeless human paradox.
Right.
And that's what makes these ancient words so relevant even today.
Yeah.
Deuteronomy is reminding us that success in and of itself is a fickle God.
Okay.
It can easily lead to a kind of spiritual complacency.
Yeah.
A forgetting of the source of our blessings.
It's like that saying, remember to be grateful for your blessings, especially the ones you prayed for.
Right. Exactly.
But Deuteronomy takes it a step further.
Yeah, it does.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not just about personal gratitude.
Right.
It's about remembering your obligations to the covenant, to a higher purpose.
You've hit the nail on the head.
Right.
Gratitude in this context isn't simply a matter of good manners.
Yeah.
It's a matter of spiritual survival.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that with chosenness comes responsibility.
Right.
A duty to live in a way that honors the covenant.
Yeah.
That reflects an awareness of our place within a larger order.
And let's be honest, even with all the divine favor and promises, the Israelites weren't exactly poster children for obedience, were they?
Far from it.
Right.
Deuteronomy 9 doesn't shy away from their flaws.
Right.
from their capacity for rebellion and disobedience,
Right.
even after all they'd witnessed.
The golden calf incident immediately comes to mind.
Of course. Yeah.
It's almost comical in a tragic sort of way.
Yeah.
They get the 10 Commandments.
Right.
The ultimate divine guidebook
Right.
for living a righteous life. And what's the first thing they do?
Yeah.
Fashion an idol.
I know.
Talk about missing the point.
Right. It's a stark illustration
Right.
of the human capacity for contradiction.
Right.
For holding on to like deeply held beliefs.
Right.
While simultaneously acting in ways that completely undermine those beliefs.
The imagery in Deuteronomy 9.17 is incredibly vivid.
It is.
Moses coming down the mountain, stone tablets in hand,
Right.
only to be met by this scene of idolatrous frenzy. His anger is so intense.
It's palpable.
That he smashes the tablets to pieces.
I know.
It's hard to imagine being that angry.
You can sense the weight of his disappointment, his utter bewilderment at their actions.
Yeah.
He'd been in direct communication with God,
Right.
had received these sacred laws,
Right.
and here they were,
Right.
back to their old ways in the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
It speaks to the fragility of faith, the constant tension between our higher aspirations and our baser instincts.
And yet, even in that moment of like utter failure, of broken covenants and shattered expectations,
Right.
there's a glimmer of hope.
Here it is.
Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Because despite their flaws, despite their repeated acts of rebellion,
Right.
God doesn't completely abandon them.
That's the astounding thing about this text.
Right.
It doesn't shy away from the Israelites' shortcomings.
Right.
It paints this like raw and honest portrait of a flawed people chosen by a loving yet demanding God.
In Deuteronomy 9.27, we find Moses interceding for the Israelites, reminding God of his promise to their forefathers. He says, "Remember Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, thy servants, to whom thou swearest by thine own self."
Wow.
It's a powerful plea for mercy, for understanding.
And it speaks to the enduring nature of God's covenant.
Yeah.
His unwavering commitment to his chosen people.
Right.
Even when they've tested his patience.
Right.
To the very limit.
It's a reminder that when we stumble, even when we make like colossal mistakes,
right,
there's still room for forgiveness.
There is.
For second chances.
It's a testament to the transformative power of grace.
Yeah.
The possibility of redemption, even in the face of our most egregious failings.
It's kind of a humbling thought, isn't it? To think that even in their like most rebellious moments,
right, the
Israelites were still like held within God's covenant.
Mm-hmm.
It speaks to a level of like compassion and forgiveness.
It does.
That's kind of hard to fathom.
It certainly does, and it challenges us to consider the nature of our own relationships,
right,
both with the divine and with each other.
Right.
Are we as willing to extend grace and forgiveness,
right,
as the God depicted in Deuteronomy?
That's a question worth pondering.
It is.
But moving beyond like the theological implications,
sure,
there's something like incredibly powerful about this idea of second chances,
right?
Of not being defined by our mistakes. Mm-hmm. It's a message that resonates deeply with the human experience. What do you say?
Who among us hasn't made a mistake, right?
Yeah.
Hasn't acted in a way, right, that contradicted our values or beliefs.
Yeah.
Deuteronomy reminds us that failure, even catastrophic failure,
right,
doesn't have to be the final word.
Right.
There's always the possibility for redemption.
Yeah.
For reorienting ourselves toward what truly matters.
So if we were to kind of step back from these chapters to view them not just as like ancient history, but as a source of like timeless wisdom.
Yeah.
What would you say is the key takeaway for us today?
It's the $1 million question, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah. For me, it comes back to this idea of remembering.
Okay.
Deuteronomy is like a symphony of remembrance.
Right.
It's about remembering where we came from.
Yeah.
Remembering the blessings in our lives,
Yeah.
both great and small.
Mm-hmm.
And most importantly, remembering that our successes, our triumphs,
Yeah.
are never solely our own doing.
Right.
There's always an element of grace,
Right.
of fortunate circumstances,
Yeah.
of the contributions of others
Right.
that play a role in our achievements.
It's a call to humility,
That is.
to gratitude,
Yeah.
and to recognizing that we are like part of something much larger than ourselves.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing our interconnectedness, our dependence on forces, both seen and unseen.
Right.
Deuteronomy, in its own like ancient and often jarring way,
Right.
reminds us of this fundamental truth.
It's a powerful message.
It is.
And on that note,
Yeah.
we'll leave you with this final thought to ponder.
Okay.
If these chapters are more than just a historical account of conquest,
Yeah.
how can their themes of obedience, gratitude, and the dangers of forgetting our values, be relevant in our own personal journeys today?
Right.
Food for thought as you navigate the complexities of the 21st century. Until next time, happy deep diving.
Welcome to Charlie and Mia's podcast. We're embarking on an exciting journey to read through the entire Bible in just 1 year. Every day, we dive into Scripture, exploring its meanings and how it applies to our lives today. We invite you to join us on this incredible adventure of learning and discovery. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you never miss an episode.